No church in Mexico from 1857 on. No church could own any real estate. No clergy person could vote or hold public office or appear outside of a church or a private home in any type of clothing that would distinguish him from any other citizen. Monks could not have their head shaven in any particular manner. Monasteries and convents were illegal and unconstitutional. All church buildings became federal property. No church could own real estate. Even the residences that the clergy lived in became property of the nation. And since monastic life was prohibited, most of those old monasteries and convents of the day. What offerings did your priests give? Did they get the reaction that they wanted from the gods? And try and remember. But there was also the idea here in central Mexico that the sun only committed itself for 52 years. It's a big job to be the sun. You have to lead the procession of time every single day. You cannot be late. You can never take a day off. There are no such things as sick days. And it's understandable that the sun gets tired of being the leader of the procession of time and might just decide it doesn't want to come back again. That's why we live under the fifth sun. There have been 4 suns before ours. And every time the sun refuses to come back, it plunges the earth into darkness and all of humanity dies off. That's why we're part of the fifth humanity. There have been 4 humanities before ours. And Mesoamericans lived in tremendous fear that the sun might not accept the invitation to come back and lead the procession of time again. The sun only comes back because of all of the offerings that are promised to it. And it just becomes offerings that are just so grand that they cannot be turned down, and the sun agrees, okay, I'll do it again. But people lived in fear that the sun might not accept the invitation. And they knew when that would happen. If it did, it would happen at the end of a 52-year cycle. So when the new 52-year cycle was about to begin, people wanted to start out with everything brand new. Brand new dishes, brand new cooking ware, brand new kitchen utensils, brand new farming implements, brand new clothing, and they'd have it all ready for the first day of a new 52-year cycle, just in case the sun did decide to come back again. And on the last day of a 52-year cycle, they would do something that they had never done in their whole lifetime. They extinguished the fires in their houses, in their kitchens, and the priests extinguished the fires in their temples. And the earth was plunged into darkness. And at important places, Xochicalco was certainly one of them, a new fire was built using flint or friction. And they'd get that new fire going, and they'd carry out the ceremony to invite the sun back again. And once they were well into the ceremony, the high priest would nod to the runners who were standing around holding unlit torches, and they would come up, they'd light their torches from the new fire, and you could picture them running down from a high point like here at the plaza in Xochicalco. And wherever they encountered somebody standing on the side of the trail holding another torch, they would share the flame with them. Those people would take the torch home, share it with their neighbors. It would be the fire that would burn for the next 52 years if the sun indeed did come up the following day. And when it did, there would be tremendous rejoicing. Life was going to continue, and Xochicalco was very proud of being one of those places where the new fires, their own names, not with our names. And they had a god for each hour of the day. There were 13 hours in every day, 9 hours in every night. There were gods of each of them. There were gods of the months. And the council of the gods changed with every passing moment. A major difference between Mesoamerican religion and our religions of today is that modern religions teach us that God is present everywhere and all the time. Mesoamericans knew that their gods were, that bringing feet in the picture. Mesoamericans knew that that you could only give gifts to the gods at the moments they were in council. If you want to give a gift to the god of Saturday, you do it on a Saturday. That's why it's called Saturday in the first place. We're in the presence of the god Saturday. On Sunday, Saturday will be in retreat and won't want to be bothered anymore by people and their petty problems. And so if you give a gift to the god of Saturday on a Sunday, it would be like throwing it away in the garbage. Sunday is not going to take an offering destined for Saturday. And if you're making offerings to Saturday on a Sunday, it probably means you're not giving Sunday anything at all. Imagine what problems you would get into with your gods if your calendar is so little as 1 day off. You can see how important an observatory like the one that we were just in is. If your observatory tells you it's the summer solstice, and your calendar tells you the summer solstice is 2 days away, you better start making changes in your calendar before you get into problems with your gods. And Xochicalco was probably a very important astronomical center for all of Mesoamerica. Its fame spread all over the place with this whole array of observatories that it had, where they made observations into the center of the sky, while the rest of Mesoamerica made observations on the horizon. Here they were looking into the center of the sky and doing so with tremendous accuracy. But by the mid-800s, the Maya society was declining. The priest class was losing control of society. By the 860s, no more dates were being carved in stone in the Maya region. And obviously, the priests were not being maintained by the peasant farmers, and something had gone terribly wrong for the Mayas. In the Maya mentality, that would be because the calendar had gotten out of synchronization with the gods, and they weren't making their offerings at the proper moment in time. But the calendar was not something that was easily fooled around with. You couldn't shift it forwards and backwards, forwards 1 day and see if it worked, and then let's try it backwards 2 days and see if that works. You have to make a decision and have it be right the first time. You don't get to play around with it. And when the priest class was losing control, that also meant that there were probably peasants' revolts. In 792, there's a mural painted in Bonampak, close to the Mexican and Guatemalan border, that shows peasant farmers revolting against the upper class. In that case, in 792 AD, the upper class won, and it put up murals showing what happens when peasants revolt. They get taken prisoner. They have little slivers of wood slipped in underneath their fingernails and huge drops of blood coming from underneath their fingernails. And some of them are on their knees pleading for their lives to be spared in a prayer-like position. One of them is just stretched out dead on the steps of the temple with a spear going right through his chest. And it shows the victory celebration of the upper class celebrating their victory over the peasant farmers. But that probably wasn't happening. A few decades later, the peasants were winning the battles and the priest class was losing, and no murals were being painted of that. And as they saw their society crumbling and knew that they had to have an astronomical meeting to correct the calendar, and a meeting that would probably go on for weeks, if not for months, they may have sent a group of emissaries here to Xochicalco, messengers arriving here at Xochicalco from the Maya region in the southernmost part of the Gulf of Mexico, and asking to speak with the leaders of Xochicalco and telling them, our astronomers have sent us here to ask if you would allow them to come and meet at Xochicalco, because there's no place peaceful enough in our region to have a meeting. It's going to go on for several weeks, but if we don't do it, our calendar is going to go so out of synchronization with the gods that whole thing is going to fall apart. And we've chosen Xochicalco because we know how famous you are with your underground observatories and astronomical innovations and things like that. For Xochicalco to have been chosen by Mayas, who were recognized as the most important astronomers of their known world, was a tremendous honor being bestowed on this city. And the messengers were probably told, not only can your astronomer priests come here and have their meeting, but we will finance it for you. And we'll put up a building, and we'll put everybody's portrait on the building that participates in the meeting. And when you go back to your homeland and tell your astronomer priests that they're welcome to come, don't take the shortcut route along the Gulf Coast. Take the long route and go through Oaxaca and invite the Zapotec astronomers too. And while you're gone, we'll round up all of the important astronomers of central Mexico. We'll have a grand astronomical encounter here when your people arrive. And even though it's not their city, we will let them be in charge of the meeting. And we'll have their portraits carved on the building too. So we're going to see Mayas in charge of a meeting in an area that wasn't even theirs. And you're going to be able to pick out the Mayas very easily, because Mayas had the tradition of deforming their babies' foreheads. When a Maya baby was born, it was tied to a board, and the board went up higher than the baby's head. And the parents would tie another board to that one so that it put pressure on the child's forehead. It was like a press. There were boards coming in from behind and from the front, and every day the parents would tighten the knot. And after 2 weeks, they could remove the 2 boards, and there would be a straight line from the tip of the baby's nose to the back of the baby's head, and it would stay that way for life.